Okay, cool. All right, so I'll go ahead and start and introduce myself. I am Stephanie. I am the BTV director of Bearcast. Pretty much what I do is work in a studio setting. Um, Typically, we do little shows or podcasts and upload it to YouTube. Morgan?
I am Morgan McLaughlin. I am the general manager of Bearcast Media, and that's essentially the president of the organization. We just call it general manager. Do you want me to go ahead and just say what we do now, or is that after we all introduce ourselves?
Yeah, you can say what you do.
Okay. So Bearcast Media is UC's resident student media organization. We do a little bit of everything, so it's very hard to just kind of give a concise description of what we do, but we have a student radio station, which right now we've been doing in the form of podcasts due to COVID. We have the TV station, which Steph is in charge of. We do live recording sessions with local artists. We typically plan a music festival, sports coverage, articles about any kind of media. In a perfect world, we also would be doing concert photography, but obviously that can't happen. So that's just a little bit about what we do. So it's nice to meet all of you that I haven't met before. So.
All right. Anyone can go next.
Awesome, I can go. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here and thank you for having us. My name is Ashka Raval. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a third-year student. I study computer science and business analytics, and I serve as the co-president for United Asian Advocates this semester.
I can go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Fatima Khan. I am, a third year medical sciences major with a minor in public health and a certificate in integrative health. This is my second year in UAA, and I am serving as the treasurer this year.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Catherine, and I serve as the director of communications, and this is also my second year in UAA. And I major in piano performance.
Awesome. And then whoever can kind of just describe what it is you do.
Sure, so I have our mission statement right here, so I can just read off from it. Mission statement. United Asian Advocates strives to create a safe space for Asian identifying women, non-gender binary, and trans individuals to explore their intersecting identities through storytelling, community building, and educational programming. We aim to uplift marginalized voices by centering their experiences, challenging our existing perspectives, and fostering an alliance to support each other. Our mission is to advocate and strengthen Asian representation in social justice spaces. And I think Fatima and Catherine can mention our 4 pillars.
Right.
Yeah. Sure. So I can take the first two. So we have 4 pillars. It took us honestly quite a while to establish these pillars because there were so many adjectives that we thought encompassed our mission and what we want to do with the organization. So the first 2 are community and awareness. So building a community within this campus that comprises Asians of all different identities and intersecting identities, as well as raising awareness about different causes that are related to the Asian diaspora and others as well.
Yeah, and the other 2 pillars are representation and empowerment. So really this kind of has to do with the individual and how, each individual feels represented in social justice spaces specifically. So that, being a part of our mission, we really wanted to really hone in on that and seeing, Asian identifying people in media in general. I think that's been one of the biggest, pushes in recent years. So, and then empowerment is in relation to representation, but really it's just, hopefully we can have and feel a sense of empowerment when we see other people that look like us in specific spaces, and also just are able to voice these just our opinions in general. So.
All right, awesome. That was so much information. I love it. I'm going to go ahead and jump in with my first question. which is how can someone get involved and grow within this organization? And whoever can answer.
Sure, I can take it. There are many ways to get involved in UAA. We're a club that's on social media, we're in group meetings, we're on Slack, we're literally everywhere. And it also depends on what kind of involvement you want. Do you want to be a part of an exec board? Do you want to be a part of an exec board? Do you want to be on one of the committees, working on some initiatives that we're working towards? Or do you just want to be a Gen Body member? Or if you just want to be an ally and support us, share our stuff. But to sum it up, the best way to join our organization is to request to join on Campus Link. I think Campus Link being the primary source of all organizations to communicate what they're doing with the students. We also follow the same university policies. Again, it's a very open organization. We're open to Asian identifying folks as well as allies, because we know growth happens when we teach and learn from each other. So we're there for that, and we're open to almost everyone out there.
Cool. Do you guys meet on like a specific day of the week?
Our Gen Body meetings are usually on Tuesdays, and we put all the information out on our social media. So follow us, United Asian Advocates. We also put out informationals on our social media about certain topics that we think as exec board leaders that would benefit the community or that would just benefit a Gen Body member. So if you follow us, you can also keep up with all those informationals as well.
Okay, so our first question for you is, how can one get involved in Bearcast Media as a general body member?
It's kind of the same way. There's a bunch of different ways. Morgan, how about you answer this, because you deal with this a lot?
I do. We also use Slack, so it's nice to find another organization that uses Slack, because so many people don't. Every WebEx at 6:30. We have a lot of different opportunities this semester, really trying to put forth for people, because we understand that in a pandemic we can't do all of the fun things that we normally would. Yeah, social media. I've had several people just email me, which is fine. If you want to get involved, go for it. I've had somebody slide into my DMs on Instagram. That was a little strange, but whatever works. So any way that you want to get in contact with us to get involved, we will take it. But all of our meeting information is usually on our social media. So.
Yeah, I feel like our organization is very like relaxed and stuff. I've had people even email me, which is like, I'm just like the BTV director, not really anything super important, just like any way to get any information about it and then just come to a meeting. But it is very difficult in the pandemic because it's really hard to, get that face to face and have things to do for the general body. All right.
Can I actually ask a question to you guys? I'm like so curious. So I know that when we talked, are all three of you guys founding members, or just two of you, or just one of you? Because I know that you guys just started the organization in 2019. So what made you want to start this, and why was it so important to you that you were like, we're going to start this club because this is so important to us and we want people to know about it?
I can start a little bit on that, and Ashka, if you want to add on as well. So the founding members of the organization were Ashka and I, another one of our peers named Shruti and Arthi. And so I believe it was us four, Ashka, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was us.
And Nog as well.
And Nog, yes. Okay, and Nog. And basically, this idea started out of a program run through SLD called Accelerating Racial Justice. And so it was a 5-day summer program where basically we went to this one cabin out. Honestly, I don't even know where. It was a really fun time, though. And so we spent 5 days together really breaking down what race was and what racial justice and social justice meant to us. And so during this program, we were split into different focus groups. And so one of them was an Asian identifying focus group. And so what was interesting is we sat down in this Asian identifying focus group and we just looked around and we all looked so different externally. You know, we had people from Nepal, we had people from Pakistan and Vietnam and China and Korea. And we were like, we are so diverse in here. Like, it's just, and kind of as we sat in that circle, we all just talked about how we had never really felt too connected to the word Asia because it was just such a large term. It kind of sometimes, some of us had mentioned that it had felt as if there were just a bunch of countries and they didn't know what to do with them. And so they just put them all together and put one label on there. And so many of us described, you know, what we loved about our Asian heritage and what we struggled, and how being an Asian American was very difficult for some of us as well. And so basically out of this conversation, we kind of realized that there wasn't a space on campus for Asians from all parts of the diaspora to come together, especially in a social justice setting. And so from there, Shruti was like the founding president at the time. She had this idea about kind of creating an all-inclusive Asian organization that was social justice based, that basically tailored to all different intersecting identities within the diaspora. And so it took us about a year of sitting within the social justice change lounge in Student Stager Life Center, and basically just kind of fleshing out, you know, what do we want this organization to look like and how can we make it as inclusive as possible. And so it took us a year, and Ashika was a huge part of leading the SAB process. And so eventually, after a year of talking, we got it approved. But I'll let Ashika kind of talk about too about what her process was like doing this as well.
Fatima always puts it so beautifully. I just love listening to her when she talks about the founding story. Yeah, she covered almost everything that I would touch upon. But also, you know, the caucus that Fatima mentioned, there we also all together, because we were on a retreat learning about social justice. We found that there are no spaces on campus, or at least active spaces in the greater Cincinnati area, that we could reach out to that focus on Asian or Asian advocacy, or you know, spaces that focus on social justice and also on the Asian identity. Because as we've seen, you know, in the past elections as well, Asians are a big part of the whole, I would say, diaspora in some sense. But I feel it's also an identity that's always been ignored. So I have a friend who always says that if you really want to like understand the Asian heritage in America, you take a look at the picture with Malcolm X and the Asian lady in the corner, if you guys know what I'm talking about. No one knew about her. And then once that picture went viral, everyone saw and you know, read up about her, and then they found out that her contributions in the movement were not as big, but were at par with Malcolm X. So that's the way I feel I personally describe Asian advocacy in this country. But yeah, I think Fatima covered it all. And additionally, we also had a lot of people just supporting us from outside as well. A lot of people weren't founding members per se, but we had people who stopped by for 1 or 2 meetings to help us craft a mission statement, or people who just dropped by to share how excited they are that this organization is being formed. So definitely that support from the community, whether it was SALD, EPS, or our mentor at that time, Kathleen Wang, helped us a lot in taking, you know, like these tiny steps that eventually led us to form this organization. And I'm sure Catherine, because she joined just like a semester of us being registered, so she can share how she felt when she first started her journey with UA.
Yeah, yeah, that was really well put. I think for me, just starting out as like a music student, there wasn't a lot of like on campus like activities that really drew me, and post high school I was really driven to social justice. So for me, seeing that there was an organization like this on campus was honestly like really refreshing. And so for me it was just you know, getting involved. How can I get involved? And so at the time it was basically we're running an Asian leadership conference, let's do anything to help get it off the ground. And it would have been our first Asian Leadership Conference at the university ever. So unfortunately, the pandemic, we all know, but really, I think that was really just the jumping point, and seeing how, this really welcoming community really just embraced, any support, and also just was really striving to create a space, was just something I was really drawn to. So I wasn't a part of the founding group here, but I think I definitely, I saw like the potential in it, and I really wanted to be a part of that. So yeah, I think that was the biggest thing for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Do you have any other questions for us?
I actually wanted to piggyback off of just like after the question that you guys were answering for us, I just wanted to like elaborate on, like, during the pandemic, what kind of initiatives like have you put up? I know you guys started the podcasting, and how has that been? How have you adjusted? And just
it's been really rough, especially for like what I'm in charge of. It's very like in person. You need to be in a studio, and you actually like learn how to set up for different shows and use the cameras and everything. So it's very difficult to not be able to do anything. Like there's not much that we can do. I like last semester, the only thing I really was able to do is go in there on my own and kind of do like a virtual tour of like our studio and stuff. And then just be like, well, I hope everything goes back to normal. Let me know if you want to like be in BTV and stuff like that. So that was like my big struggle, was just like, I can't really be in person, and there's not much that BTV specifically can do. What about you, Morgan?
Yeah, let me tell you, taking over the presidency of a media organization as soon as the pandemic hits is not I would not recommend. I mean, it's been a challenge, but it's not easy. It was a heck of a first semester as like the general manager of Bearcast, because it's like, okay, well, everything's online and it's your first time doing this. So I've only ever known being in charge in the middle of a pandemic. So yeah, the podcasts was actually, I think it was like Steph, myself, and Gavin, our radio director, who met over the summer. We're like, we're gonna do it. And it was the three of us, because just like in a WebEx room, like, we're gonna do it, and planning it out. So we're very pleased with how that has gone, because more people have shown interest in podcasts than we thought. So that's been a really nice kind of way that we've adapted. This semester in particular, we're trying to open up more opportunities with people, because last semester it was really just adapting and figuring out, what can we still do, what can't we do. So like the fact that we're able to do interviews like this. We're trying to get our community spotlights back up and running. We're trying to do promotional videos for local businesses and offer those as like socially distant opportunities for general body members to learn and to work. It's definitely been one heck of a challenge, because we really want to try and make sure we give those opportunities, because that's kind of what our organization is predicated on. So, I mean, that's a long-winded answer, but it's slow, but we're getting there for sure.
Yeah, and that's like totally understandable. Yeah, because it's like, how can you possibly adjust literally like within weeks, especially post, that 1 week in March, and then, you have the entire summer to just process. And so literally it's, it's completely understandable. But yeah.
Right.
Thanks for sharing though. Yeah, it's something.
What about you guys? What are your efforts in like keeping your organization running during the pandemic?
That's a great question. So just to give a little more context, our first sort of in-person, or just our first kickoff event, was going to be, as Catherine mentioned, our Asian Leadership Conference. and that couldn't happen. We had to cancel it due to the pandemic because we only planned for in-person events. And at that point in March, we were also like in the headspace where, well, we'll just, host it once everything's back to normal. It's going to get back to normal in like a week or a month or something. That is definitely a great story to tell, but but yeah, so whatever we did with this organization, we did it virtually. So our sort of kickoff happened during the pandemic. And I always say this, that this is like, we get a lot of emails that say unprecedented times. And these truly are an unprecedented times, meaning whatever we do is sort of an example that we're setting. So there's no way we can go wrong. Like not doing something is the only thing that we can do that is wrong at the moment. Whatever we do, whether it's as tiny as, using social media to just check in with our Gen Body members, or in our case, we're trying to create a Gen Body. So using social media to create a Gen Body, or texting your friends who you think would be interested in this organization. Whatever we do is a step in the right direction. And sorry, I digress. To answer your question in terms of what we did, we definitely, as I mentioned before, we started doing those informationals because our organization has a lot of educational aspect to it. And our strength as a group is facilitation and research and education. And we use that to our advantage, and we started doing these informationals out there. For example, the first event that we hosted this year was called Racist Remarks. We found out there was a professor at UC who no longer is a part of UC, thankfully, who used the words Chinese virus in an email. Of course, depicting sheer xenophobia, sheer racism. And we decided to put out informationals on why using that word isn't just wrong, it's also incorrect, according to the WHO. Like legally, it's incorrect. Additionally, we also hosted an event where we got community members and allies together and found out ways how we can be better. We presented everything that we got from that event, changes that people wanted to see in this institution, to the E&I Council at UC. And we've been focusing a lot on like inward advocacy, whether it's going to meetings, speaking up for Asian identifying folks, or highlighting the stories of Asian identifying folks. So that's what we've been up to, whatever we can through social media, through this little camera that we have. But I'm sure Fatih and Catherine will have much to add onto it.
No, I think that was beautiful. I think the only thing that I have to add was we also focused on, like, for our adjustment, we focused on growing internally as well, because at the end of March, when the Asian Leadership Conference got canceled, there were actually, I think, only 5 of us at the time. And then we had one drop. So over the summer, it was honestly just 4 people. And, when you're trying to build a community, sometimes, we need a little bit more people power. And so we started to realize that there were so many goals that we wanted to accomplish, but we didn't have enough people to help us get there. And so one thing that we did as well to adjust was expand our team. And I can't remember, we have quite a few people now. I think it's 9 people on the team, maybe more. I cannot remember, but we've created a really good community of executive members, which has been really helpful, because that just makes our organization even more organized and tailored to supporting a general body, because that's more people that can do work to enhance our community and create our community. So that's also one thing that we did as well, which has just provided us with a lot more structure and direction in how we want to do things and where we want to go.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add really. Yeah, overall, I think it's just really been, well, during the fall, it was really, we're going to try to expand, we're going to try and really, really create events that are relevant, and do as much as we could at that moment. And then we just had a Gen Body meeting that was just about exploring the Asian identity. So really, it's like taking the, founding steps, and just like the first steps really, and trying to just establish, get our footing, and just, start, bringing the community together really. So
All right. Let's see. Do you have another question for us?
I do. One question that I have for you is, what has been the most rewarding part about being a part of Bearcast?
That's a good question. For me specifically, I think it's kind of the experience and just learning, like, for me in my department, it's like being in that studio and it's learning what I can do in that studio and how to grow within there, setting up certain things, and editing and just all of those kinds of things. And just also being able to connect with other people and collaborating with other directors for certain things. I think that is super great, and I have even like made quite a few friendships through Bearcast, and um, I think just that is very rewarding and definitely like worth it being a part of this organization. Morgan?
It's hard for me to like even like think about it because the entire just like Bearcast as a whole has helped me grow in so many ways. Like like I remember the first Bearcast meeting I went to freshman year. I came halfway through the semester because the general manager at the time convinced me to go because she was like older than me and in my business program. When you're a freshman, an upperclassman tells you to go to something, you're gonna go. And I just remember walking in, and I don't know if I should be saying this interview. I think I went home and I cried because I was just so overwhelmed. But it was like good crying. I was like, this seems awesome, but I don't know what's going on. And just like from then to now, like being the general manager, like I just think like, you know, after that just shows growth right there. It's kind of exemplifies. I've met so many incredible people. I've learned so much. I'm a marketing major, so like I'm in business. I'm no longer in media, and it's just been I've learned so many things. I've learned more like through this organization than I did through like my couple of media classes that I took, you know. And like I totally agree with Steph. Like you meet some of the coolest people and you make some friendships that like are just like incredible, you know. So I think it's really just it's a good organization to just grow in because like we're very laid back, like Steph said earlier, and like we want to help you grow and to help you like do what you want to do. We want to help you create what you want to create and like foster that. So that's my kind of origin story. And
That was
yeah,
beautiful. I loved that.
I actually do kind of want to go off of that, like, because I am an e-media major, and you learn a lot in class, but I think it's more of what you bring outside of class as well. It's like getting involved, like, you know, shooting short films and stuff. And like, for me, I want to be a producer after I graduate, and that's pretty much like what being in the TV studio is. Like, I'm producing these things, and I think Bearcat, like, it's just what you do outside of class, and that's what, like, and there's so many different areas in Bearcast, like, especially it's mainly business and e-media. If you're in, like, one of those things, like, Bearcast is so right for you, and, like, you should 100% join because there's something for you to do, you know? So, yeah.
and then there's Gavin, our radio director, who's just like an engineering major. I think he's gonna yell at me if I got that wrong, but I don't know how he
He
got
pretty
here,
much
but like we
is.
love him.
Alright, I think, Morgan actually has a question for you.
Before I get to that, I just want to ask, like, because you know we kind of talked about what's been the most rewarding part of our like experience in our organization, but like I want to know why is like your organization like what has been the most important thing about it to you? Like, what do you feel is the most rewarding thing that you've gotten out of it thus far?
I think for me personally, it's been just being able to collaborate with really great people and just um, being able to create something honestly from the ground up. And to me, like establishing community has been like one of just a big like drive in my life. So um, you know, I think for like just establishing this community is something that's just really important to me specifically. So, um, and yeah, I think just the times where we like are sitting in a meeting, we have these moments of, wow, this is super important work and I'm glad that I'm a part of it. Those have been the most rewarding things, like when we're just like either like in one of our like meetings, and we had this one instance where we had like a word cloud of just adjectives to describe your Asian identity, and a lot of it was so empowering in terms of like it's diverse, unique, it is, powerful, like people coming up with, from our own community, that are coming up with these adjectives were, these are the moments that I honestly like, I live for them. So yeah.
I have to agree, definitely. And also with me specifically, because my involvement sort of at UC didn't start with UAA. So, and I have been a part of other communities as well, whether it's women in computing or it's just like the computer science community. But one thing that was truly rewarding for UAA would definitely be when one time I remember I was talking to an alumni as a part of a different club, and they just mentioned like, what you up to next? And I said, I have a UAA meeting. And I've never in 1,000 years would have thought that that alumni would be in tears in the next 30 seconds telling me how they really wanted a space like that when they were here. And that's something that is, for me, that's a rewarding aspect of it, because a lot of people found a need for this, and we did too. So it's just something that it's a little part of us that we'll be leaving at UC even when we graduate. So everything we do right now, if we have like a strong foundation for this organization, it can stay on forever, but forever as in metaphorically forever, given the current times. I don't know what forever is, but however long UC is, I feel this organization has a lot of potential to cater to not just the Asian identity, but also the education, as I said, around that. Because we all come from different groups and we all come from spaces that have some sort of educational aspects in terms of social justice. So we are trying to also take all the information and all the knowledge we have and pass it along to our peers, to our community. Sorry, that was a really long answer, but
Yeah, no, I love what both of you said, and I definitely agree with that. I think one thing that I wanted to add on is like kind of what you said, like I remember when I told someone about United Asian Advocates, they were just like, thank you. And I was like, what do you mean? And they were just like, thank you, because like we've been searching for this for a long time. And it's so empowering and it's so rewarding when, you see that people, like, you created something and people actually want to be a part of it and they're passionate about being a part of it. It's honestly just warms my heart to think that, I felt a gap in my life and a hole in my time at UC, and I'm glad. I mean, I'm not glad that other people felt that gap as well. I would never want anyone to feel that way, but I'm glad that we were able to create this community to address a common concern that a lot of us had. And I think that's just the most rewarding part. And one thing that I really think that will be rewarding too is, even after we're gone from this university, I think that this organization can have a really extensive alumni network. And so it'll just be so fun to, come back like 4 years from now and be like, hey, I was a part of United Asian Advocates, kind of have that connection of like, I was in this and you're in it now. And I just love seeing that. So that's just one last thing.
Now, and before I ask my other question that I came up with, I should say, like, I love your guys' mission and everything that you stand for. I think it is so important because I feel like there's just like this lack of information about that part of the world in the United States. There is just because of, the curriculum and what we're taught. Like, think back to school. You learn European history. I took Spanish, so I learned, history of Latin America, but I'm just like, there's just this gap. And I just think what you guys are doing, and also not just that, but I think it's so incredible and so important that you guys are giving people this space. And so I'm just like hearing about this. I don't know if you guys have been able to see my face. I love it. I love it. But I had it's a bit of a specific question. Hopefully this completely doesn't like flop, but tying kind of our media together with your Asian advocacy. One thing that I've seen a lot in the news is kind of a discussion around representation of Asian individuals accurately in media, specifically kind of, westernized media. So I just want to know, like, have you guys, what's your, I guess, I don't know, like, have you guys been talking about that? Like, just kind of what's your perspective on it? Because I feel like that's kind of a good bridge between our organizations, because it's something that relates to us and relates to you.
That is such an important topic. I'm sure we've talked about it in the Social Justice Lounge, not once, but a gazillion times. And I know Catherine is at CCM, so she can chime more on that. But I don't talk like I'm from Simpsons and I'm from India. So there's a lot of misrepresentation, especially with the Asian folks, and that has been going on since forever at this point. Like there's no time where you can pinpoint and say years when it started and years when it ended, because it's still going on. Like every time you turn on a movie with a terrorist, the bad guy has to have South Asian features. And these are just like some little things that I'm mentioning right now. But as an Asian advocacy group, this is a topic that we would honestly love to chat more about. Again, we are a very research focused organization. Right now, whatever I shared was just my personal point of view from whatever I have read and I've experienced. But if you just take a broader look at it, we may find research around it, and I'm sure there are tons of research articles out there. So honestly, if you guys want to collab with us on a Gen Body discussion where we come and discuss about Asian representation in media and how we can take as students and as leaders take positive steps to change the narrative, we would love to do so.
That'd be really cool.
You're muted, Morgan.
Oh, I was just getting excited.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to do that too. So I identify as Pakistani and Muslim, and so growing up, seeing my religion and my culture displayed on the media was not a fun thing. Every day in the classroom, when it was 9/11, I got stares, and there was a lot of hate that I experienced when I was growing up, and a lot of it was due to how the media portrayed Muslims as radicals and as terrorists. And so I definitely have fallen, I've gotten some tears and stuff from the way that my religion and my culture has been portrayed. And so it's really that honestly this topic is really important to me, and I think that's definitely something that we should talk about within United Asian Advocates of how are we represented on the media, and how do we think that could change, and what action could be made to change that. And I think honestly starting off at UC, especially with kind of what happened earlier with the professor calling it the Chinese virus, like you can already tell that there is misconceptions against Asians from all over our continent, throughout members in our community. And so honestly us working together with you and kind of maybe trying to start that discussion or start some creative representation about that discussion would be super cool.
Yeah, I completely second everything that Fatima said. And yeah, I think it's not just about like seeing more Asian people in general. I think it's having a diverse perspective on the Asian identity. We are like we are polylythic, and we don't have one experience. And so what the idea of an Asian American looks like, or just an Asian person in general, is always been misconstrued, just even from like just in like old Hollywood, like literally in every facet of media there's always been a stereotype portrayed, and that's always been connected to race. So I really I am also extremely passionate about this, and it's just seeing diverse perspectives, whether that's with like a rom-com, like Crazy Rich Asians that just came out, not just came out, oh my god, that was like literally 2 years ago, but it doesn't even have to be good. Like it literally can just be like, I see myself in media in general, and portrayed as a human being. So I think that's that's been like a huge factor. So I really do think that yeah, not, you know, this idea would be really cool to completely like flesh out, and you know, so.
All right. We can start wrapping up soon. Do you have any last questions for us?
Yes, we actually do have a question for y'all. So I know Morgan mentioned that she kind of joined the organization her freshman year. I don't know how long you've been in it, Steph, but so throughout your time, what sort of positive changes that you have seen within the organization?
Morgan, do you want to go first on this?
I can try because I was only like half involved freshman year, and then all of a sudden I was the communications director sophomore year. I don't know. I think especially within the past like 8 months, and I'm not just saying that to like be like, oh, I'm a good leader. No, I'm just saying because like as an organization, we face so many challenges, and we've just kind of everybody has stepped up their game to overcome them. In the past like 8 or 9 months, we've moved more from a phase of thinking about doing things to doing them and executing them, because we've always had a bunch of great ideas. It's just been a matter of taking those ideas, planning them, and making them happen. And I think that's, at least to me, that probably the biggest like thing that I've seen the organization grow as is kind of like taking those ideas and making them happen.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. For my department specifically, there's definitely been challenges with having people like come to you with like a show idea and stuff. So it's kind of just like I'm trying to come up with things for like BTV to come out with, or like the general body to be able to help out with and stuff like that. I've only been in Bearcast for like a little over a year now. I joined my sophomore year, so last year, but I was like fully in it when I first started. I quickly became like the producer of BTV, to pretty much like co-director of it. And I know the last director, Brendan Mitchell, he did a lot to keep BTV alive in general. So I think he really deserves the praise of like keeping it there and doing everything he can to like come out with content that like people would be interested in watching and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But
Don't forget though, this
Yes, thank
whole
you.
interviewing student organizations, this was all you, girl. So don't forget that.
I just really wish that we were in person. Like this was my big thing when I was interviewing for this position. I was like, this, like I came up with this like a year ago, like in April. And I've been waiting. I'm just like, okay, when we go in person, I'll start it. And we just never happened. So I'm like, let's just go ahead and do it.
No, this is super important, and I I really like appreciate like, you know, the effort to, you know, just branch out in general, and I think yeah, I think what you guys are doing is really great. So yeah.
Thank you. And then do you ladies have any last remarks or anything that you would like to mention? All right,
We just wanted to thank you for organizing this, and we hope to collaborate with you in the future.